Am I live? I hope I'm live. Am I live yet? Am I live? Oh, yay, I think I'm live. I have no idea what the picture quality is gonna be. Um, Let me just open another tab and make sure that this thing is working. And I really hope I'm not overlapping with anybody else who might be live right now. Let's see how this goes. Is this working? It is. Okay. Um, so I knew if I didn't do this live and didn't get this video out here, I would not find the time to do it anytime soon. So I have a little bit of time to myself. My partner is, and get this is how amazing he is. He is giving free SAT math tutoring to a local organization that works with undocumented and documented immigrant high school kids, mostly from Mexico and Central America. So he's doing that until about 8:30 or so. It's 6:42 here. I see I have a couple people watching. I know this is spur of the moment. I didn't announce this or anything. I just really if you've seen my most recent video, you know that I had to get a new computer recently, and it's a PC, and so I've had to download a video editing software because I've been using a Mac for a really long time, and I'm learning how to use a PC, and I have yet to learn how to use that video editing software. I hope this weekend I'll get to do it. So I'm sorry that the video quality is probably like shit right now, but at least I gave you kind of a cool background. I'm on my husband's side of the desk. We share a desk, but I figured the bookcases will be a little bit more interesting to look at than the blank wall that's behind my side. So here we are. I'm using my new computer. I have some rosé wine. Oh, delicious and chilled. And as promised, I'm going to explain um, what has happened in the month of May and why I was MIA for most of that month. And I'm sure I'll get more and more talkative as more and more of this wine goes down. So grab yourself a drink, get comfortable, whether you're watching this live now or later. And get ready for some story time. Where was the student witch for basically the entire month of May? So, if you've been keeping up with my last couple of videos, I think toward the beginning of May, May 4th, I believe, I posted a video just kind of rambling and talking about my experience with my exams. So I finished my PhD exam. Yay! Cheers! Molly's here. Salud. So I finished my PhD exam. I flew up to Massachusetts, defended that, got some great feedback, and flew back here. And I kid you not, the day before my oral defense for my PhD exam, something started going wrong with my 2011 MacBook Pro. So it's kind of an old computer, but MacBooks or Mac products in general are known to last a pretty long time. So basically, the battery wasn't charging. So I took it back here. I landed here, got back home, handed my computer off to my partner because he's more into technology stuff. And at first we thought it was just a simple kind of connection issue. So we checked that. It wasn't that. Then we thought it was the battery. So we bought a brand new battery, which if your Mac product is over a certain age, then Apple doesn't really support it anymore. So this MacBook Pro that I had from 2011 was 7 years old already. So I had to kind of find a third person retailer to find a new battery. So we put in the new battery. That didn't work. So then we found out about, I think it's called the System Management Controller. And the System Management Controller is like a basic function in MacBook or Mac laptops that runs the basic functions of the laptop. So it tells the screen to turn on when it knows the computer's turned on and things like that. So apparently if that's out of whack, you can reset that to get it to connect back to the battery, recognize the battery, and get that to start to charge. That didn't work. So then we found out that it wasn't the battery issue, it wasn't the SMC, it was actually something called a logic board. And the logic board kind of tells the computer to recognize and charge the battery, I guess, kind of like the SMC does. So the problem with the logic board for an older Mac is, of course, you have to go through a third-person retailer because Apple doesn't support your Mac anymore. And the cheapest one we found online was around $300 or $400, and it's kind of a complicated thing to replace. So you would have to take your computer somewhere and pay someone else to do it, or risk ruining it. Um, so none of that worked. We weren't willing to drop that kind of money on something that potentially wouldn't or couldn't work. And so we figured with that kind of money, I can just buy a brand new PC. So unfortunately, throughout all this process, we had to wipe my Mac clean. I lost all my music, I lost all my documents, although I do have an external hard drive, so a lot of the important stuff is there, but it was just wiped clean. So I lost all that. My computer is essentially dead. um, I do have more or less a brand new MacBook battery for a 2011 MacBook Pro. So if anybody's interested in that, send me a message. But um, yeah, so the computer's dead. I bought this brand new one about 2 weeks into the process. It's an HP, it has a touch screen, it has double the memory and RAM and all that stuff that my MacBook had. But between my MacBook Pro and the MacBook that I had in college, it's been about 11 or 12 years since I've owned a PC. So I have to relearn all of this and Windows 10 and how everything works and files downloading and where they go and how to organize it and everything like that. Luckily, my partner, he's a PC guy. He prefers PCs, so he's navigating or helping me navigate this process. So that happened. And all the while, this is happening with my computer, and I'm getting behind in my schedule, and I can't make the progress that I want to make, and blah blah blah. All the while, my partner is applying for jobs, and we constantly had this ticking clock hanging over our heads because his visa was set to expire May 31st, but also our lease on our apartment was set to expire May 27th. And we contacted the landlord and said, look, he's applying for jobs. We won't know anything for sure for a couple weeks. Like, can we extend the lease through the summer? And he said, sure, okay, you can stay until July 28th, but I'm not going to hold the lease for you, which means if someone else wants the apartment before you can sign and make the commitment, I'm going to hand it over to somebody else and you will have to move out. So that was crazy. And we also had some issues with his health insurance, and the clock was ticking, and we were afraid that we were inevitably going to have to move, and he would possibly have to fly back to Chile in August without a job lined up for him, without much funding to help him out. So all that was happening. Then, the day before our wedding anniversary, our anniversary is May 23rd. So on May 22nd, shit really hit the fan. And he got an email, and the email wasn't even directly sent to him. It was just copied. He was just copied into the email. And it was an email between the one of the finance kind of secretary person people in his department where he was working, and human resources or payroll. And it was basically informing him that he would have to pay $2,100 because human resources never signed him up for the required Georgia teacher system retirement plan that he was supposed to be automatically enrolled in when he started working for this university here in the state of Georgia. Um, and that retirement plan was supposed to automatically come out of his paychecks. He was enrolled, but human resources never notified payroll to start to deduct that money from his paychecks. And so it accumulated for 10 months. And that was the length of his contract. And so that it's a required retirement plan for teachers and professors of the state of Georgia. So basically, because of a huge fuck up from someone in human resources, we get to pay $2,100 all at once. That day, oh my God, that was not a good day. That was not a good day at all. And we were already under so much stress because of his visa expiring and not knowing what to do about the apartment. Should we sign the lease and take a risk or not? And how are we going to extend his visa? And just so many things were going wrong. And then all of a sudden, a big, huge $2,100 mistake landed in our laps. And it wasn't even our fault, it was someone else's fault. We went and talked to payroll, we've talked to human resources, and luckily we can make it. We can make 3 payments of $700 throughout the summer. But yeah, it was not fun. It was not fun. It was a really rough day. The day before our 4-year wedding anniversary. Excuse me. So all of that happened. That's why I was gone throughout the month of May. Yeah, I hope that kind of, in a nutshell, explains everything that went wrong. And to kind of tie it into the theme for this video, if you see, the title of this video is Water Lessons, right? So the new moon in May was the new moon in Taurus. It was May 15th. But on May 15th, I have my notes here, Uranus also moved into Taurus, right? And it will be in Taurus until April of 2026. Uranus is associated with rebellion, chaos, deviation from the norms, liberation, but it can also be associated with radical, rapid changes, right? Very much speaking to that water element, at least for me. And Uranus moving into Taurus is very interesting because Taurus, it's a fixed earth sign. And to me, Taurus is all about like comfort and the body and sensuality and exploring the pleasure of the senses, like good food, good wine, good company, good music. Like that's what Taurus speaks of to me. And so to have this planet of chaos and rebellion and revolution move into Taurus really shakes up that sense of comfort that Taurus can have. And now I don't 100% ascribe to astrology, as in, I don't necessarily believe for sure that my destiny is marked in the stars, but I do believe that's a useful tool that we can use to kind of make sense and tie together what's happening in our lives. So me being the chaot that I am, if something makes sense and it can help me cope with what's going on, or it can help me figure out and make sense of what's going on, I'm going to use it as a tool. So astrology is a tool in that sense for me. So to see this planet of rebellion and chaos move into this sign of comfort and fixity and stability really shook things up for me and really helped me to make sense of all the chaos that I felt was going on around me and us. Um, my computer dying, the issues with my partner's visa, not knowing if we were going to be able to stay in this apartment for longer than a few months, not knowing where in the world we were going to be in a few months, because he was applying to jobs all over the place, you know? And on top of that, having this big $2,100 human resources fuck up land in our laps, it shook everything up. And all the while, I turned to the tarot, I turned to my spiritual practice, I turned inward. I virtually disappeared from all social media, not just on my student witch like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, but also on my personal Facebook page and things like that. I really reduced the amount of time I spent on social media. I really had to go inward because when so much chaos is happening around your life and so many big changes are coming and so much uncertainty is kind of clouding your vision of what's coming ahead, sometimes you gotta reduce complexity in your life, reduce, simplify, streamline, and cope. And so some of the tarot cards that actually came up for me in readings in my daily polls, that were very helpful came from the Golden Tarot, which I got as a treat for myself for finishing my exam. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. Actually makes me think a lot about some of the research I'm currently doing about the late medieval and early modern period. But um, the Golden Tarot, some really poignant cards came up for me that really helped me cope with all this chaos that I felt like Uranus moving into Taurus was throwing at us. One of the first cards that came up, because I usually do a daily poll, a daily tarot card poll. So I remember it was a Saturday that this card came up, the Knight of Cups. And this really came up at a time when I was struggling to kind of come to grips with and control my emotions. I don't really like the idea of controlling my emotions. Like control feels like some sort of like imposing um some sense of control over emotions that maybe just needed to be expressed. But that's the best way I can express it right now. Um but I was having a hard time dealing with everything, which I think is kind of natural considering all the shitstorm that was happening around us throughout the whole month, right? So the Knight of Cups from this deck really spoke to a sense of approaching the situation with equanimity and balance. In the sense that balance, it's not a static state. Balance is a movement, right? And sometimes that balance means you win some, you lose some. And sometimes that balance, when it comes to material things, when they become unstable, when some of the situations in your life become unstable, it really teaches you a lesson about what really is stable, right? And that really helped me to see, like, okay, I don't know where we're going to be in the next few months. I don't know if my partner is going to be forced out of the country in the next few months. I don't know if we're going to have to move. I don't know how we're going to pay this $2,100. But I have my family, I have friends who have my back, and my relationship with my partner is solid as a fucking rock. So that really opened my eyes to still practice gratitude, even when sometimes it's hard to find something to be grateful for because so many things seem to be going wrong all at once, right? And I think I have a video from maybe March called Gratitude in the Shitstorm that is kind of related to that. So that Knight of Cups really kind of helped me to find my bearings to deal with the situation. And then a few days later, I believe right around the time the $2,100 fuck up happened, as I will forever call it, the Five of Cups came up. And here's the depiction in the Golden Tarot for that. So the Five of Cups is, infamously called, crying over spilled milk, the card of crying over spilled milk, right? Because you're literally focusing more on what is spilled than what you still have that is filling your cups. Um, and so another cup card came up, another water element card came up. Oh, I forgot to mention that basically 3.5 weeks out of the whole month of May, it was cloudy and raining practically every day here in Georgia. So water symbolism, bam, in your face, right? But the Five of Cups again kind of reaffirmed what I had already started to think about thanks to the Knight of Cups that came up about reflecting on instability and uh, what is out of your control, but remembering what you do have that's in your control, what you do have that is solid as a rock. Because I know for a lot of relationships, whether it's between friends or between family members or romantic relationships, when shit hits the fan, that can really impact the health of your interactions with that other person or people that you're in the relationship with. It can really, things can get really rocky. And so when shit was hitting the fan over and over and over and over again throughout the month of May. Hi, Maharet Lenore. Did I say your name right? Welcome. Thanks for commenting. But when shit is hitting the fan over and over again, or shit was hitting the fan over and over again for me and my partner, it really helped me to realize that our relationship is so strong because we've already been through so much. Like all of his visa and immigration issues, 3.5 years of long distance, just everything. Um, it's just grown more and more and more solid. So, yes, I think it was totally appropriate for me to get upset about everything that was going wrong in the month of May because it was a lot. But it also helped me to kind of evaluate what is really, really important. Now, of course, having like stability and having a roof over your head that you can count on is, of course, important. But maybe even more important than that is knowing that you have a safety net. And actually, a symbol that kind of came up with to me over and over again throughout the month of May was also spiders. And the idea of the spider web as a safety net, which is kind of an interesting thing because spider webs are usually thought of as traps that they use to catch their prey. But in my case, just the idea and the image of the safety net kept coming over and over and over again to my mind. And spiders were literally like invading the house because of all the rain outside. I'm sure they were looking for a safe, dry place. But yeah, that safety net, it really helped me appreciate the safety net that I had. And so, the last card that I kind of pulled during the month of May that was really poignant to the situation, it was the day of our anniversary. Like I said earlier, the day before our anniversary was when we found out that human resources made a huge mistake and that we would have to pay $2,100 seemingly out of nowhere. So the next day, our anniversary, we were both still kind of dealing with that, dealing with all of our emotions about that and just strategizing how are we going to pay this. And so I remember walking up to my deck because I have my main altar and then kind of across the room up against the hallway because my altar is in the living room. I have a little bookshelf where I keep all my witchy knickknacks, and then I have like a little mini working altar space, and that's where I put my deck that I'm working with at the moment. And that's where I draw my daily card and I keep little witchy things and a candle to Guadalupe and stuff like that. So I remember walking up there and I remember thinking like, what would be a great card to come up right now would be the Lovers. Because as cheesy as it sounds, the Lovers card always makes me um think of my relationship with my partner. I know the Lover's card can be much more complicated and there can be a shadow side to the Lover's card, but in that moment, I just wanted something to make me think of and appreciate that solid rock that he and I have together, especially on the day of our anniversary. So I was kind of shuffling the deck, and I wanted to actually like turn the deck over and purposely go through the card and pick out the lovers because I was like, fuck it. I don't want to leave it up to random chance and pulling a card at random. I want to find that lover's card and pull it out. But then at the last minute, I turned the deck back over so that I only saw the backs of the cards. You might know where I'm going with this. And I said, you know what? I'll just let whatever the universe needs me to see right now, let me see it. And so I randomly, just only seeing the backs, shuffled the deck, pulled it out, and sure enough, it was the lover's card. I don't know if I could ever repeat that. um, and I'm just gonna go ahead and take it as a sign. A It was empowering. It was like a breath of fresh air after feeling like you've been suffocating for weeks on end because of all the uncertainty and everything going wrong all at once kind of thing. So, on the day of our anniversary, I got the lover's card and I just took it for that kind of superficial meaning of my relationship with my partner and the balance and the stability that we build together. Now, that's all the bad things that happened. So, on May 31st, my partner had a phone or Skype interview. He's had several interviews, but he had an interview. Here's where the silver lining and the rainbow appears, the rainbow through the clouds. He had an interview with the math department here, and the next day was June 1st, and they emailed him to informally let him know that he got the job. So, um, they've hired him for the fall semester, and they said that they anticipate to keep him on for the spring, depending on uh, interest in students and department budget, but also his performance. So I think, I mean, it's the math department. Everybody has to take a math class for their general education requirements here. So I think they're going to keep him on for the spring. So we went ahead, we renewed the lease about a week and a half late, but we renewed the lease so we don't have to move. And he just got the email today that his visa um, was extended through December through his current contract with the math department. And in all that time, he found out over the summer that he could get a job with a research group that he worked for when he was still a student here. So they hired him on for the summer, which is going to help us pay the bills and pay back that stupid $2,100. And we don't have to move, so we don't have to worry about any moving expenses. And he has a job teaching full time through the fall semester, probably through the spring semester. And now we can finally move back to Chile together, and we can finally have plenty of time to plan it because the way things are going now, we will be moving to Chile together this time next year. Hopefully. So this time next year, I'll be heading to the Southern Hemisphere, and I'm so excited because I really didn't want him to have to make that trip alone. Um, it's been really hard on him because he kind of feels like he's being forced out of the country, which he essentially is because of the restrictions of his visa. It's just really complicated. Um, so the dust has settled. We have learned our lessons from water, all the rain through the month of May, all the chaos that Uranus brought into Taurus, all the the cups cards that I kept pulling from the tarot, all of it kind of came together, taught us some lessons about stability and instability and balance, and kind of I remember I kept saying this throughout the month of May. Sometimes you just gotta stop trying to swim against the current and just let the current take you. Just ride the wave, you know? So May was definitely a big lesson in learning how to just ride the wave, take the punches as they come, strategize, plan the best you can, but remember you have a safety net. Remember there are people who love you. Remember there are people who are there for you, and remember what is really solid and really important, your rocks, right? So that in a 30, almost 31-minute nutshell is what happened in May. And I'm sorry this is so last minute. I didn't announce that I was doing this. I really hope I'm not overlapping with someone else going live right now, but I just knew I have like an hour in this late afternoon, early evening, where I can have some quiet in the house and sit down and do this. So I'm also sorry for the image quality, but I'm gonna try to take the time or find the time to learn how to use that video editing software so that I can get a proper and edited video up there. I'm really excited. I have some plans to continue my Witching Through Grad School series, since now that I've gone through the exam process and I'm beginning the dissertation process. I have some more insight about that, and so I think my next video that I plan to record sometime within the next few weeks is going to be about perfectionism and some of the tips and tricks that I've learned with how to address it, do some shadow work about it, and learn where it's coming from, and deal with it so that it doesn't become um, it doesn't block you in your progress when you are doing a major writing process project like a dissertation, right? So that is going to come up next. I'm going to get back into the groove of things, of making videos more regularly now that we know we're going to have some stability, some much welcomed stability, at least through December. And I'm really excited to get back into the swing of things and to get back onto my Student Witch Instagram and Facebook and interact more and just have more of a presence because I missed you guys. Um, Thanks to those who commented on my most recent video that I kind of quickly threw up there this past weekend talking about my plant babies. Um, and yeah, just thank you guys for for everything, for listening to this rambling. Until next time, many blessings. Bye.